Welcome back to the Chill Stoic, where we learn to find inner peace and grounded strength amidst the beautiful chaos of life. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a truth that is both quietly painful and profoundly liberating. Not everyone deserves a response. You know that moment. The one where you're staring at your phone, heart pounding, throat tight, after someone has hurt you. Maybe they lied, manipulated you, twisted the truth. Maybe they disappeared when you needed them most, and now they're back, casually re-entering your life like nothing ever happened. And inside, a fire is building. You want to say it all. You want to tell them how deeply they hurt you. You want to make them see, make them understand. You want to respond, to scream, to explain, to justify your absence or their impact. But pause, take a breath, because here's a truth most people resist for years, if not a lifetime. Not everyone deserves a response. And no, that's not bitterness, it's not arrogance, it's emotional maturity, it's self-respect. It's the ability to discern between what is necessary and what is noise. Responding to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you is like pouring water into a sieve. No matter how sincere, how articulate, how composed you are, they're not listening. Not really. They're defending their ego, protecting their narrative, and in many cases, weaponizing your vulnerability. Silence, then, becomes a form of sacred self-defense. Not avoidance, not passive aggression, but intentional clarity. It says, I see what you're doing, and I choose to protect my peace rather than perform my pain. Stoic philosophy is rooted in the idea of mastering what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. Epictetus reminded us that we are responsible for our own minds, our judgments, and our actions, not those of others. We cannot control their guilt, their awareness, their readiness to face themselves. But we can control what we choose to give energy to. And here's what most people don't understand. Responding is not always healing. Sometimes it's re-wounding. Sometimes the words you want to say will only fall on ears that are closed by choice. And every time you speak your truth into that void, you offer your energy to a space that does not honor it. Intentional silence is not cowardice, it is conviction. The quiet, immovable stance of someone who no longer wishes to bleed for the sake of being understood. Let me bring this into something you can feel. Let's say you had a friend who constantly invalidated you. Every time you opened up, they minimized it, made it about themselves, disappeared when you were down, but always showed up when they needed something. And you tried. You had the conversations. You offered the benefit of the doubt. You forgave the inconsistencies, and then one day, they cross a line you can't ignore. Now they want to talk. They say they miss you, they want closure, or worse, they pretend nothing ever happened. A simple message, hey, how have you been? The temptation to respond is real. You want to express your truth, to finally be seen. But let me ask you this. What part of you wants to reply? The healed you or the hurt you? Still hoping this time they'll get it. Because the healed version of you knows this. You don't have to keep auditioning for people who never recognized your value in the first place. You don't have to keep explaining your worth to someone who measured it only when it served them. Your silence now speaks louder than every carefully crafted paragraph you ever wrote. Marcus Aurelius once said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. And sometimes not being like them means refusing to re-enter conversations that only exist to justify the harm they did. Think about it. Every time you reply to someone who treated you like an option, you make them feel like they still have access. Every time you engage with someone who chose their comfort over your dignity, you tell them the door is still open. But silence? Silence is a locked gate. It doesn't scream, it doesn't slam, it just stays closed. Let's shift the lens. What does it actually mean to not respond? It means trusting that your truth is valid, even if it's never acknowledged. It means reclaiming your time, your mental space, your emotional bandwidth. It means saying, I no longer perform my value in front of people who fail to see it. And it's not just about ghosting or avoidance. This isn't about shutting down, it's about rising above, about choosing a higher path. It's saying, I could speak, but I no longer need to. Because here's what many miss. Not every silence is empty. Some silences are full of dignity, full of healing, full of boundaries finally honored. Think of silence like still water. On the surface, it looks calm, undisturbed, but beneath it, power, depth, a current that doesn't have to announce itself to be real. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to walk away without a speech, to not answer the message, to not meet dysfunction on its level, to protect your growth by not letting it be pulled back into old patterns. And yes, guilt might follow, because society conditions us to explain, to overclarify, to be the bigger person. But there is no honor in over-explaining to someone who was never truly listening. There is only exhaustion. So when guilt shows up, remind yourself, I didn't walk away to punish them. I walked away to protect me. Now let's take this one step deeper. Ask yourself, what do I gain by responding? Will it bring closure, or will it reopen the wound? Will it give me peace, or will it start another spiral? Because closure doesn't always come through conversation. Sometimes it comes in the form of a decision, a silent, steady choice to no longer participate. Seneca, another great Stoic, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." How much of your life have you spent crafting messages that were never truly read? Replaying arguments in your head? Responding to accusations that were never rooted in truth, that time is sacred. You don't owe it to people who threw it away. Let me leave you with a visual. Imagine you're walking through a forest. Behind you, a fire burns. It's the conversations you left behind, the explanations you no longer offer, the apologies you stopped waiting for. Ahead, there is quiet, a trail that only you can walk. No noise, no justification, just peace. And with each step forward, your silence becomes less about them and more about you. Less about withholding words and more about reclaiming energy. Because intentional silence is not a lack of communication, it is a new language, one that says, I am no longer available for what breaks me. Thank you for joining me today on the Chill Stoic. If this message stirred something in you, sit with it, let it echo, and when you're ready, share it with someone who needs the same reminder. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a reflection like this. And until next time, remember, you don't have to respond to prove your strength. Sometimes, strength is the silence that finally sets you free.